Welcome to the Destiny of Manufacturing podcast. I am your host, Dean Phillips. Of course, the Destiny of Manufacturing is powered by the Precision Metal Forming Association. I want to bring on a tremendous guest with a lot of insight into everything technical, not just technical from the robotics standpoint, but technical from every aspect. I've known Will since way back, and he was always a little bit ahead of the game on everything. Will Healy is here. He is the global industry manager for Teradyne Robotics, and we're proud to have him here. He's also been a tremendous sponsor, I guess. Well,
sort of.
You have led the charge across Cincinnati for everything manufacturing, and you've never shied away from doing the hard work that nobody wants to do. So we really appreciate it. So welcome, Will. Good to have you here.
Thanks, Dean. That was much too kind. I appreciate that. That was nice.
Yeah. Well, it is truly great to have you here. I always love when we have an opportunity to talk because I always find that there's a lot of things that I learn from your insight, and it's always been my pleasure to have this opportunity. So right off the bat, of course, I always ask everybody, what's your 5-year perspective of everything in manufacturing?
Terminator becomes real. No, I mean, it is really hard to not talk about AI. It's the elephant in the room. And I mean, if you would ask me this question 2 years ago and it said AI would have the dominance it has in like image processing and image technology, would have told you were crazy, right? So, yeah, I think like when I look 5 years out, it's getting a little bit hard to like kind of have a feel of how fast is it going to move.
Right.
I think
wait a minute. Hold on. Yeah. I'm getting a call. It's Skynet. It's Skynet.
I called it out, so it's calling me out.
Be careful what you say. Be careful.
The recording's out there now. But really, in all seriousness, I think what's really what's worrisome to me is there's always the haves and have-nots in manufacturing, right? And so this in particular is one technology that I think could really break the folks that don't get on board. And I know a lot of people have talked about that stuff over the years, and everyone talked about Industry 4.0 as a buzzword. And I definitely have titles of presentations and articles with Industry 4.0. I'm a culprit like anybody else. But to me, I was never a real big fan of buzzwords because when I visited manufacturers, especially metal fabricators, they were at Industry 1.0 or 2.0. They, maybe some were at 3.0, but the vast majority were not ready for Industry 4.0. And so I think what's really fascinating is those like smart manufacturing and Industry 4.0 initiatives, those were driven by universities and kind of like think tanks and government organizations. And what AI is being driven really in manufacturing by manufacturers and by device manufacturers and by manufacturers themselves on the floor implementing things on their own. And so what's really different about this one in particular is I see true implementation from industry, and they are pulling the researchers and folks along with them rather than the other way where the researchers in Industry 4.0, researchers and governments were trying to push us that way. We don't want to. So I think, and AI has so many different like things about it and so many different ways it could be applied, and whether it's from like forecasting in your supply chain to actually on the floor with cameras. To me, what's happening right now, I don't get as much in the ERP, MES kind of stuff, but on the floor with physical AI is what I like to talk about. And that's the application of AI to the actual manufacturing process. And that's where I'm seeing so much going on. Dean, and earlier in the year, I did a round the world tour. Literally, I went, I was in Detroit, and then I was in Shanghai, And I was in Shanghai for a week visiting metal fabricators, and I went to the BEW show, which is a welding show, the Beijing Essen Welding and Cutting Fair in Shanghai. And then I had the luck to go to Automatica and talk with a lot of customers and see the technology there. And what can and is being done with vision is insane. Insane. It's incredible. Yeah. And there is Asia bought half the robots in the world last year, in the last like 2-3 years.
Wow.
And so think about how much learning they have and how much, even if you fail at a lot of those, think about how much you learn from failure. So when they have half the robots in the world in Asia, they are learning very quickly with robots. And I will tell you, most of the robots that I saw had cameras on them. And they were using image processing to drive and create paths and do inspections and all the things that we talk about or we tried to do and we failed. And now we're like, never again will I put a camera on anything. They're doing that stuff. And then when I was at Automatica in Germany, the things people were able to do with a simple webcam, like what I have here, and then process the image was insane. So there's a really long answer to your question. What's going to be 5 years from now? I think image processing is really leading the charge. I think everyone's seen like the Sasquatch videos and have you seen these like where they got with a selfie stick, like running around in the woods? Like they're really funny. But think about how much knowledge went into generating this photorealistic video. Mm-hmm. Think about how much of that technology could be applied to processing an already existing image, right? So the technology is here. It's not fluff what I'm talking about. It is here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it's really incredible. I think it's naive to say for people who think that AI is just Chat GPT. And I think that's one of the things that people need to get outside of just the things that they're used to. It is broader than that. There is all kinds of different areas where we talk about how AI is used. And even years ago, we could see where it was heading, what could happen. Now, Chat GPT kind of took a step in front of everybody and kind of made it something that everybody could use in some way, shape, or form. Meanwhile, everybody who was in technology was like, well, wait a minute, we're doing this over here. We've got these things where we have applications where instead of making your own cool video at home, yeah, you could do that, but this is also pretty cool.
Yep.
It's something that I think that the rest of us now are saying, well, what else is possible? How do we apply this? And especially in manufacturing. Now, I know something that is really a passion of yours, and I know you wanted to talk about this, which is Manufacturing Day.
Yeah, absolutely. And the whole month of October, Manufacturing Month. Yes, absolutely.
Yep. So what was a day now has expanded to take over the entire month of October, except for Halloween. You still have Halloween.
Absolutely.
So tell us what you're doing. Please.
Yeah, absolutely. So Dean, you introduced that I was part of Teradyne Robotics, which is Universal Robots and Mir. But what I also do on a regular basis is here in Cincinnati locally, and this is interesting to anyone, even if you don't live in Cincinnati, we have a local association. Manufacturers are on our membership. Educators from the local schools and school districts are on our membership. And then local community organizations. So think about like if you have a workforce organization or a workforce board in your county or something like that, and we're all working together to try to solve the workforce challenges in our community. And the recent Bureau of Labor and Statistics data came out. I don't want to like date what we're doing, but there were 415,000 unfilled manufacturing jobs as of June of 25, and there were 315,000 unfilled transportation, warehousing, and utility jobs. So that's 730,000 unfilled jobs in our space and in our community of manufacturing and warehousing and utilities. So I think what's really like stark and shocking about that is there's still a lot of openings and this is still a problem. I feel like we're getting tired of talking about it, but it's still an issue. So the way we fix this is through local action. And so I recognized early on, if I waited for NAM to come fix it in Cincinnati, wasn't going to work.
Right.
I waited for SME to come up with some magic bullet to fix it in my local community. Wasn't going to work. I waited for PMA to come in and set up a die builders training in our community. Wasn't going to work. I had to be a part of how I make it better, how I train workforce. Now I get people excited and kids excited in our community. And so starting, I think, as early as 2015, manufacturers in Cincinnati started hosting. They opened their doors to local schools. So maybe someone knew a teacher or someone, reached out on a Facebook group. I used to work at Balluff, and we used to host manufacturing day events when I was there. And we just, we went and found homeschool groups and invited them to come and see our factory and tour with us. And so there are a lot of different organizations doing that. And what I wanted to talk about was this is a very powerful way for manufacturers to build that pipeline. And it's not just the students. You're exposing the students, but who comes with students? Parents and teachers and administrators and grandpas and people who are trying to figure out what they're doing next, and older siblings. They have all these people that kind of come by. So what they found in when you open your doors, folks who attend a manufacturing month event, folks who attend a manufacturing day event, they're 84% more convinced that manufacturing provides a career that's interesting and rewarding because they've seen manufacturing. They're 89% more aware of the manufacturing jobs in their community than they were before. I mean, basically, people didn't know there were manufacturing careers, right? And This is the one that blows me away, is they're 64% more motivated to pursue careers in manufacturing. And I think that is what we're trying to do. So just by opening your door, giving a little tour, sharing about what you make, maybe letting them hold a part in their hand, if you injection mold this plastic piece, it can change the career trajectory of those folks, and it can help you work out your workforce.
Yeah, it's interesting you say that, because when I hosted one and coordinated it, and I know it's a lot of work, so I do want to thank you for your hard work on that. But when I did it and I coordinated with the PMA, and one of the things that we did was we brought in a robotics competition to compete in this space at the local science museum. The most important part of that wasn't just that you got to see a whole bunch of kids that were excited about manufacturing in some extension of that through robotics, but that the people that were there from manufacturing, the companies that came to be part of the other side of the business and see speakers that came in from maybe a local or a national figure, a governor or a mayor or whoever, that group got to see these kids being passionate about this. And it changed their thought process of, everybody hears, oh, well, the kids, they're just not, they're not interested in work. That is a bunch of bull. That
is not what's going on.
No, not at all. But when to see them, and now these manufacturers like, the light went off in their head to say, these are the kids we want to go after. We want to inspire them to go after these careers. We want them to be engaged with us. And they realized we got to change our message. We have to give kids the why you want to be involved in this, why this is important. Not just say, hey, come here because you got a job.
That's a really important thing to point out, Dean. Regardless of whether you're trying to hire someone or whether you're trying to inspire the next generation, whatever it is, connecting to the why is really, really important. Really important. With the association, it's called AMIP Cincinnati or AMIP Cincy. We have a brand called Make It Cincy. And what we do is we are publicly promoting to our community made in Cincinnati and careers in Cincinnati. And I've been interviewing a bunch of young folks and folks of different career paths, people with some college, people with degrees, people that never got a degree, came right out of high school, and all kinds of different career paths. And over and over and over again, why do you love manufacturing? Why is what you do really inspiring? It always comes back to this big why of what they make and how it connects to the world, what they make and how it helps others. I'll give you one story. There's an organization here in Cincinnati called GMI. GMI makes like whiteboards and like glass meeting room boards and a bunch of communication tools for meetings and things like that. And so at first you think like, what's a whiteboard? Every person that works there, they know that their work is going to help teachers teach students. So when I'm interviewing them, it's not, I'm gluing some stuff. It's, I'm helping teachers teach students. I'm helping people in their organizations communicate better with each other. And like, this is unsolicited feedback when I'm talking to them about like, what do they love about what they're doing? I'm helping teachers teach students. Like, thinking about it in that big why is really important to connect people to the work, not just young people, but everyone in your organization, but especially the young people. That's what they need, right? And that's what they want.
Yes. And I think that's, they can, having those younger influence on your company too is really important because they're better at communicating that why than you probably are.
Oh, yeah.
Because to them, it is personal. It is how they are impacting. They do want to express that message. And they're probably much better at it than you are. Well, we make this. We make these widgets. No, you make life-changing widgets. You make widgets that improve somebody's life. Maybe it's a heart transplant. Maybe it's a vehicle safety device. Maybe it is something that makes things lighter or easier to carry or any of those kinds of things. It's understanding that really resonates with them and they want to be part of that. And if you make them part of that solution, I think that's really impactful. Yeah, we want to help them. We want to train our future. We want to build that. We want to do those things, but they're the ones who are going to carry this forward beyond, 30, 40 years from now. When I'm no longer doing this, they're going to carry that message.
Yeah. So I think, for manufacturers, a lot of us are so caught up in the daily grind, Dean. It's really hard to think about like, oh God, how am I going to give a tour here? And so really what I want people to be thinking is there are resources and folks that want to help you do that. And they're there. So when you think about your local community, MEPs is a little bit struggle at the moment, but there are MEPs still operating. Ours in Cincinnati is still operating. And there are local associations or state associations, and they're helping organize for Manufacturing Month and Manufacturing Day right now. So I highly encourage you, if you aren't sure where to get started, like you gotta, reach out and try to figure out who in your community is doing this because somebody is doing it right now and you can learn from them or you can co-collaborate. We have a number of manufacturers, what they do, they don't open their own doors. What they do is they bring stuff they make to like a local tech school and 10 manufacturers will all set up at the local tech school. They may not have a meeting room or a space where like they can host some students, but the local tech school does, or they'll go speak to a classroom full of high schoolers and all those things count because you're exposing them to how, like what are manufacturing careers and how does it work? And so thinking a little bit outside the box, there is stuff that you can do. The only way you fix it is through local action. The only way we fix it is acting in our own community, knocking on our own doors.
Yeah. I think that's really a great point. It can start with just local. You can just reach out to a local school that's close by and invite them in or ask them, hey, can we come in for Manufacturing Day? And during the lunchtime, we're just going to set up a table out here. We'll get a couple other manufacturers. We'll just set up a table so that the kids understand manufacturing. They understand that this is made. Somebody made this. This didn't just happen. Somebody made that. It's important for them to understand those kinds of things that you look around your room, you look around your house, those things were manufactured. They were made. Somebody did that. And just understanding that can really open up your mind to what is possible in this day and age.
And it's not just even, what's really interesting is we have all kinds of people that work in our company, right? So it's not just the welders and the die builders and the maintenance techs and the robot programmers. There's IT folks and accountants and marketing people and all kinds of people that are doing all kinds of jobs in our organization, salespeople and managers and logistics folks and supply chain people. There's all these kinds of roles inside manufacturing that are great careers and great opportunities and big community builders. And so, like, of course, we want to try to find more welders. Of course, that's what we're trying to do. But the really good companies that I talk to, they're home growing those folks, right? They're just looking for good people and putting them in any position in the organization they can get them in, and then figuring out what those people want to do and helping them build a career. And
Right.
so I think trying to find just hiring for good people, not necessarily for having the skill that you need at this second, I think is a little bit what folks have to do to shift their mindset as well too. If you can find good people, just hire them because they're good people. Don't hire them because, don't look over them because they don't have a certain skill that you're looking for. They're good
Yeah.
people. They'll want to get that skill for you.
Yeah. Skills can be taught, and especially nowadays, and that's an important part because one of the things that, like at PMA, we've been working on is apprenticeships. It's been a very important aspect because when we talk about apprenticeships, most companies have realized, you mean just stealing people from some other company? They're just not out there. Or putting an ad in a newspaper.
It's a Lord. Dean,
That's
it's a newspaper. No.
It's a newspaper. That's right. But
Yeah,
that's why apprenticeships have a huge value. Is a company they don't have to do all the work themselves. There are plenty of tools, I mean, like PMA has, of course, metal forming EDU, does in-plant training, all those kinds of things. But at the ground level, there has to be some ownership of that within a company to say, yes, we're going to commit to building this. We're going to commit to designing a system where we can bring our talent and raise everybody. The old, a rising tide lifts all boats. And so if everybody gets better, we all grow together. So I think that's an important aspect for people to understand. But you're 100% right. Don't hire based on skills. Hire based on good people.
Yeah. I mean, if they've got the attitude, even if they've never heard of manufacturing or touched a wrench or any of that before, if they got the right attitude and the right skill, they're going to want to learn, right? Are they curious? I think that's really the magic thing to look for right now. And a lot of young people aren't curious, but we have to connect them to our why, and they will be very curious in the right direction.
Yes. Good point. Yeah. Well, we are out of time, buddy. Oh. It is great to see you again. Always great to see you and have you on the show. Yeah. I don't know when this show is going to hit, but we will definitely see you at FabTech. If it doesn't hit before then, it's going to be close. And we will definitely see you at a Manufacturing Day event or Manufacturing Month event near you.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me, Dean. Appreciate the opportunity to talk about reaching out in Manufacturing Month.
Thanks so much. We appreciate you, Will.